Hello everyone. Today I would like to talk to you about my active Ragdoll tool generator. Um, uh, First of all, I would like to address why I decided to make this tool and put it on the asset store. There are other tools out there uh, that are way better than this tool, perhaps even more accurate. However, this tool fully fits my needs, and I believe it will also help a lot of other people in their active Ragdoll generation. The reason I made this tool and not pick something from the asset store or other free solutions that are available if you search on the internet is because when I actually tried the free tools, they either did not work properly or they did not actually fit my needs properly the way I wanted them to. Whereas the paid solutions are perhaps a bit more expensive for me, in my own opinion. So I decided to make this tool, and with this tool, you are able to generate an active ragdoll that can either match animations fully or else use physics forces and therefore will act more like something out of Gang Beasts, for example. What this tool does not have is additional functionality. For example, when the player has to react if he hits like a box or something and then loses balance and falls down. That stuff is going to be left to you, the user, to code manually, even for example, something like a death sequence. I will show you how to do that, but not in this video. This video will serve mostly as a quick demonstration of how easy it is to actually make an active ragdoll and show the full control of it. Whereas the next video will show you exactly the ins and outs of how the tool works, as well as what you can do afterwards as well when you make the active ragdoll. Before we start, however, as you can see right here, I have a lot of errors. Well, the reason for this is if you look at the package manager when you actually install the package, I definitely state here that it is required for you to install the samples. The samples here are a custom inspector sample and an extension sample. These are things I used to sort of make the tool look better, especially in the inspector. They're just custom inspector tools and some extensions that I use. And while you can get these out in different YouTube videos as well, I put them as samples and not include them in the package directly so that you can actually just use these wherever. They're in the samples folder. You can move them out of the samples folder if you really want to, and just include them wherever you want in your game dev journey, and they should be fine there. So here now the errors have gone, and I also have a Mixamo. Well, I have more than one, but we're going to be just using this one right here for today. This Mixamo model right here. And we're going to create an active ragdoll out of this tool real quick. So I click the tools, go into active ragdoll. You will be given this screen right here. Here you can click here to have the playlist link, which will show you this video and the next video. And then we just go straight into the new step. Step 1, we generate the model. We can give it a name. We pick the model that we want from our assets. We can choose to give it a position, or if it's under a hierarchy position, you just choose quick parent and you can choose exactly where you want to put it. But we just want it here today. So we just generate the ragdoll, and the ragdoll is generated right there. We click next, we continue. We get the armature, animated armature root. We then get the ragdoll root. And now we pick the bones that we want to actually be simulated. So left leg up, left leg, left foot, right leg up, right leg, right foot. All the spines, the left arm and left forearm. You could do whatever you want here. You could pick the hands, you could pick the shoulders if you want. That's up to you. I would not suggest picking the fingers though. We'll pick the head, we'll pick the right arm, right forearm, and that's it. We go down, we generate the joints, joints are generated, and we're good to go here. Next, ragdoll root. We pick this again. This is the collider section. Here, We select all the gizmo colors that we want. I suggest we pick something like blue in this case. Now, um, uh, here I have a warning saying before adding a collider, mirror first, otherwise changes may be lost. So for example, something like the legs, if you pick a collider setting and do some changes here, which by the way, you can click on the collider or you can click here, it will select the actual gizmo. And then you could use R for scaling, as if you would be scaling a regular object on Unity, but you'll be scaling the collider now, or W to move it around. If I decide to mirror right here and right now, to, for example, left leg up, so I want to do right leg up, the settings are lost. So if I were you, I would mirror first the bones that I want to mirror and then change any properties. And obviously, you will still have to stick with the original. If you change this, this will not mirror. So we can move it down here, like so. Perhaps switch it a little bit more. Greens controls the height, blues controls the radius. We go further down. We mirror first. Now we do the right leg here. Do there. Now, obviously, this is not going to be 100%, but obviously, general rule of when you're making the colliders is you should not make them touch each other as much as possible. So be careful there. But I'm just uh, doing this quick for the sake of this demonstration. Take your time on this. You will probably only do this once, and then you just prefab the character and move on, right? So yeah, take your time on this. And obviously it would help a lot if the body is T-posed and not something out of Mixamo, but you could still work as you can see here. Right foot, I'm gonna decide to do a box for this one specifically. Move it around. So I moved it a bit too much there, but what can you do? Maybe make it a bit taller. Like so, and move it a bit further in there. I think that should be fine. Spine. For spine, I think, yeah, we'll do definitely here. We don't need to mirror anything with the spine. So we just lower. I think that's actually pretty good. And then we'll grab like spine 2. You don't actually have to put a collider everywhere. This just grabs the simulated bones only. And yes, this is, as you can see, this is the collider. You're controlling the collider setting, and yeah, you're seeing exactly what the collider is doing. You can change direction here. So now I've changed the direction to like that to make it better. Again, I'm making this as fast as possible for me. Take your time on this. We're mirroring again. So now we're mirror the right arm. And we're back here. It's pretty good. I think maybe lower this one a bit. Put it that way. It's pretty good. Now we go to the left and right forearms. So yeah, once you mirror, the right forearm is lost in this section. The mirrored component is lost because it's actually just mirroring the one you picked already, right? So it's picking the left. So yeah, you lose the suggestion in here, but that's fine. That's what I want. Make things a bit simpler there. So you have less to worry about. And this is not 100%, but it works for this demonstration. Cool. And that should be it for that. That should be good enough. So you don't have a go next here. Now we just go to step 4. We're doing joints. Now here you can save presets. We don't have a preset, so we're just going to make a new one. So we're going to name this one example, for example, and we create the preset. It chooses itself here, and we just put in the hips as the root. In terms of locked motions, all of these are going to be locked, so put them in the locked section. So this is motion limits, so these are the movement ones. These are the limits, the angular limits. If you're going to do a def situation, I suggest you keep these free when the active ragdoll is alive and moving, and then when you hit the def state, then you switch to limited automatically. Here you can choose the limits, and as you can see, you have the gizmo already set up. Just like in the colliders, I suggest you choose the mirrors first. So here we're going to pick right leg up. You have to pick it again because I made a mistake there, personally. So now we do right leg, right foot. Spine does not need anything actually, no mirroring there. Left arm, right arm, left forearm, right forearm. I made a mistake there. Left forearm, pick right forearm, and then the head does not need anything. Cool. All right, so now here you have a helper image. As you can see right here, maybe you could even make this a little bit bigger so you can see better. You have values here. So 1 is the head, 2 is the neck or a spine, and 6 like his hip, 10, 11, 12 are arms, and 7, 8, 9 are legs. So left up leg is a 7. So 7 is minus 60, 60, 70, 40. Now, bear in mind, these are just helper images. They're suggestions. Pick and experiment on your own terms. These are just some values that helped me when I was doing mine. And I don't think they're 100%. I think I would actually change this a bit better. But as a starter, I think these are quite doable. 9 is the foot, so 0, 0, 20, and 20. Now, in terms of spine, it's 5 and 6s. So 5 is minus 60, 120, 20, 0. So 20 minus 60, no, minus 60, 120. There you go. Spine 1 is the same. Actually, no. It's minus 20, 20, 20, 0. Spine 2 is the same. Minus 20, 20, 20, and 0. Left arm is minus 15. Actually, no. Left arm is 11. So 100. And then 20, 60, and 30. Left forearm is actually number 10 here. That's minus 15, 0, 90, and 30. And then the head is minus 30 and it's just 30s. So 30, 30, 30, 30. 30, 30, 30, 30. Then once you're done here, if you want to keep everything saved in the preset, you save the scriptable object, and that is saved. If it's already saved, then you just, let's go back, okay? And go back to step 4. It's like we're starting from the beginning. If you want to load an existing preset, you just click here. And for example, I want to click example, which I already have. And you do this, and it automatically sets. It sets the data. You don't have to save again to scriptable objects unless you do any changes. Same thing for the mask setup. Example, create preset, create hips, total mass, we say 62. You have helper images as well with numbers. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There you go. You have everything there and all the numbers associated with them. You could automatically decide to skip mass if you really want, which is what I'm going to do here. But you can set up the mass. Step 6, ragdoll collision, ignore. We'll go back into the hips. And for this test, I'm just going to pick the feet. So left foot and right foot. We generate them and they're generated. Now we can close the stool. But before we close here, you have the set physics iteration solver. In my testing, I found out that I don't really need to mess with this. Setting the default values, which is 6 and 1, for the iterations and velocity iterations respectively, is good enough. But if you were to change them, you can change them and then save. Just consult with the Unity documentation for this one. I'm going to close tab here. We're done with this. Now, before we go, I suggest you also create a player layer and a ragdoll, for example, ignore ground layer of sorts. You go in the project settings in physics and and set the ground layer as well if you haven't set that yet. So the player ignore ground does not interfere with that. Okay, cool. We can then give the player layer. We change children, but then we go in the legs and in the feet respectively. We click both of them and we can say, hey, enable the collision ignore, and we give it the layer of the ragdoll ignore. So this is the ignore layer. Once the runtime starts, it will switch to this layer, and when the player dies, you can tell it, hey, go back to the start layer, which is actually a player. It's something that I use to facilitate your actions. Bone list. This is your main bones. This is your main script that you're going to be working with, among other things. But if you're going to do any functions, this is it. So we put in the animation root bone. Before we continue here, let's go straight down to the root bone. The root ragdoll animator, we give it match non-simulated bones for the bones like the fingers that we're not actually simulating. We put all of these to 1, but you can change. So if you don't want the position matching and you want it like gang based, you put this to 0. Yeah. We give the animator and the entire ragdoll model here. And this is where you can set the simulation to active and kinematic. If you have a what do you call it? A root motion body, you do not put it as kinematic. However, if you have a regular one, you can. Yeah. Now here, put maybe like 10,000 as rotation strength, and you can decide between XYZ rotations or slurp. I personally prefer slurp. Populate everything, set all to 1, match all positions, match all rotations. It changes stuff here. And as a final check, update bones and list. So this populates everything here you see here, and also the non-simulated bones list. You may, for example, want to not simulate a particular bone, such as head, top, end. Well, you could decide to not match its animations, and that's fine. It'll work. But for my case, I don't want to not have it animated. I want it animated. So that will work right there. And yeah, so this is now done. We could press play. And we don't have an animator. That's on me. So let's give it an animator. I already have an animator set here. As you can see, it has the jab cross animation. And there you go. It's actively being animated. And it works. You could do as a kinematic. And I also just suggest that you do this if when you kill the ragdoll and you're gonna keep it on free, you actually give it a small force. You click this button and you give it a small force, and it won't function anymore. Like this, it works perfectly. And we could spawn in a 3D cube, for example, move it around. As you can see, it interacts with the cube. There you have it. So there you have it. It's a simple setup of how to create the active ragdoll. In the next video, as I mentioned before, I will be going more in depth, specifically on the bone list and how you should be able to create functions, as well as showing off the animation rigging and showing that working. See you soon.